Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News with me, Labo Daniel. Over 100,000 children die annually in Nigeria from complications related to anemia, which causes. In developing countries, there is a huge demand for blood transfusion, mostly because of complications in pregnancy or children under 5 suffering from anemia. The 170 million people living in Nigeria need an estimated 1.4 to 1.7 million pints of blood per annum, but only about 38% of this demand is met. Bukola Bolarinwa founded Haima Health, Nigeria's first mobile and blood bank, to meet this need. Since 2015, this innovative initiative has revolutionized the country's blood supply system through technology, making blood available to people who are in dire need of it. Bukola, who is also a qualified lawyer, has since won several awards, including the Commonwealth Queen's Young Leaders Award in 2017, where she met with the Queen of England. Welcome, Bukola.
Thank you.
Can I shake the hands of the lady who shook the Queen? What was that moment like for you when you were nominated and, of course, when you were awarded and you shook the Queen based on your work?
It was amazing. It was really great. It goes by really fast because, but then the prep for the actual ceremony takes like 6 months. But the actual process, it goes by, it's just like seconds.
But what kind of prep do you have to? They tell you not to stand a certain way, not to do certain things?
Well, you're not supposed to back the Queen. Okay. So when you're walking, you walk backwards, as opposed to turning your back towards her. And you always have to wait for her to extend her hand before you extend your hand. And then you curtsy. So it's just little things.
Okay, like that. I used to, but 6 months, girl.
No, there was other things.
Yeah, I know, of course. I can imagine. But when you started in 2015, did you think that it will become this big?
Definitely not, but the award was won not just for the work that I do with Haima Health, but also with the Sickle Cell Aid Foundation, which we've been running since 2011. So it was an accumulation of all the activities that we had been running. But I definitely didn't expect it.
Mm-hmm. Now, the statistics are shocking, because when you read 100,000 people die every year in Nigeria, and nobody has done anything about it. So what do you think took people so long to ensure that they found ways just like you have? Or what took it so long? Like people, you, so long to eventually come up with this kind of innovative tech solution for blood supply here?
I think that, different people are doing different things to try and increase blood supply in Nigeria. Maybe the only thing that makes ours a little bit different is that we sort of use technology and then we focus on young people because for us, we just...
When you say young people, because Nigeria, we have this idea of youth. I mean, I think 70-year-old youth. So what do you mean by young people?
So we usually focus our programs on NYSC and at university campuses. So you can donate from the age of 18 up until when you're 60 or 65, depending on how healthy you are. And so we focus a lot of our programs in those sort of, groups. And that's just because it's easier to get a young person to donate blood. If someone is in their 40s and has never donated blood, it's very difficult to explain to them why they need to, unless it's maybe, for your family members, just because you're stuck in your ways. Also, your chances are decreased because as you get older, your health generally worsens, and so you're less likely to be able to donate.
Okay. Now, law this how?
I know, everyone asks me this. So actually, we started the Sickle Cell Aid Foundation in law school. My friend Nkechi Azinge started it, and I joined her in law school. And that was just because she had personal experience. She's a twin, and her twin sister has sickle cell, and the rest of her siblings also have sickle cell. And so she wanted to do something about it, and so did I. And so we sort of came together and started it in Buhari, actually, in law school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then it sort of just grew organically, and then we became so passionate about it, and it's just sort of taken on a life on its own, basically. And through the Sickle Cell Aid Foundation is how Haima Health was birthed.
So the thing is, yes, the Sickle Cell Foundation, you were helping people with sickle cell. But how did that, okay, guys, we need to do something about the blood supply in this country. How did that come up?
Okay, so People living with sickle cell oftentimes need blood transfusions, sometimes several times a month. And what would happen is that a lot of people that we work with who have sickle cell would contact us and say, we need blood, we need blood. And it just kept increasing as our network of people that we were supporting was increasing. And then we said to ourselves, we need to do something about this, like these constant shortages of blood. We had, 1 or 2 cases where people die before blood gets to them. And so we just said, let's sit down, let's strategize. What is wrong with the current way that, the way that hospitals get blood in Nigeria, and how can we sort of, augment it? Because the truth is we can't solve all the problem. All we're doing is just trying to make the process a little bit better.
So what is this process?
So what we've done is created the largest online register of voluntary blood donors in Nigeria. And we do this using social media and going to outreaches and different people and talking to them and say, come and be a blood donor. And that's just because I feel like the government and the national and state blood transfusion services just don't have those resources to be able to do that. And so we capitalize on...
You're far too kind.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they definitely don't get enough credit. A lot of these people, they do want to do good work, but they're handicapped because they don't have either the technical skills or they don't have, the funding or just the political backing to do something about this. And so we just thought, let's just help them do their job a little bit better.
Even with their large budgets. But again, you're don't let me put that into you. What would you say, have you had several success stories? What have your success stories been?
Yeah, I mean, recently, just 2 weeks ago, a lady just had a baby, and we sent her, she had to have a cesarean, and she has sickle cell. And through the course of her pregnancy, she had to keep having blood transfusions to make sure that her hemoglobin level was high. And when she had her baby, she called us and she was so excited. She's like, I'm going to name my baby after you, So it's just little things like that, just because, the healthcare system is so broken in so many parts, and we're just trying to fix just a tiny little part of it.
Okay. So, because I saw pictures of the process. So you have these mobile units, and then people just walk in. So, I mean, obviously you have like a day where you do that.
Yeah, so we do blood donor drives in different places, and the blood is actually collected by either the national or state blood transfusion services. And what we try to do is sort of go to different locations and sort of firstly educate people about why they need to donate blood. And we ourselves, we like to call ourselves marketers, and we just market the process of blood donation.
Okay. Now, one of the things I love about you is you look very unassuming. Because, I mean, when you see her, you're like, oh my goodness. Because when you walked in, remember that thing we had? So I'm like, you look so very unassuming, very fragile. Except, of course, you have this conversation and then you talk to people, then people understand the strength that you have on the inside of you. Now, there's several people who have great ideas, but they don't know how to implement it. Because there's people, of course, who blame government for everything. And then there's people who see the need, they see the gap, and they want to do something, but one way or the other, they don't know how. So how did this, what are the practical steps you took to actually start this, particularly as somebody who is not in that industry?
I think I'm really determined, and then also it's, I'm quite motivated by the problem. So I feel like if the problem is big enough, you will, if it bothers you enough, you will stand up and do something about it, no matter how hard it is. Because you're right, I mean, before I started all these, I have no medical knowledge. But then you can research, you can learn. If you're passionate about something, if it drives you enough and it keeps you up at night, I feel like you can wake up and try and do something about it. So I think it's just the motivation. You have to feel like the problem is big enough and your idea can actually work.
Okay. So you also have awareness programs. So you have this, because I saw several walks, and then we have pictures of that as well. So because sometimes I realize that these walks, it's almost like everybody's using to maybe work out a little bit, show their fancy pick trainers. Do you measure the success of the walks that you have?
Sometimes, I ask myself, I've been doing this for 7 years. Have I actually impacted, sickle cell knowledge or blood donation knowledge or health knowledge? But oftentimes, I feel like you can only just do the little bit within your sector. If I'm waiting for it to say that, okay, based on this walk or these particular activities, I've improved the lives of 1 million people, that's probably not going to happen, So I feel like it's just about you know, doing the best you can within your sphere of influence. Even if it's a walk, if we do a walk and one person, because of that, is actually like, oh, maybe I need to donate blood, and they donate blood and it helps someone, I feel like that's enough of an achievement. So maybe sometimes we shouldn't wait for, you know, grand gestures or grand sort of things that can save the world. Just do your little bit within your sphere.
And you've got about, I think, over 500 people who have actually volunteered and actually donated blood? Or what are your numbers?
Yes. Since we've started, yes. Okay. We've collected over 500 pints of blood.
So now for people who are watching this and going, I don't know anything about blood donation. I've never done this before. So people like me who are like, okay, how can I help? How can I donate my blood? What should they do?
That's part of the reason why we have the online register, because a lot of people just don't know how to go about it. What we'll say is go on our website. It's haimahealth.org.ng and register as a blood donor. And what happens with that is that we send you emails and text messages on when blood donation drives are happening around you, or if someone around you needs blood. We are also working on, you know, mobile technologies to say, okay, if there's someone within a 10-kilometer radius of you that needs blood and they match your blood group, you can go and donate to them. So I would say that's the first step.
So your website, and I think you also have an Instagram handle.
Yes, all our social media is at Haima_health.
Okay. Thank you so much, Bukola. But you'll be back towards the end of the show for the panel session. So that's all from Bukola. It's time now for a short break on the morning show. But when we return, I'll be speaking with the doctors who are all about health empowerment. Don't go away.